Welcome back, another episode. Episode 6 of the Frasier reboot shows Freddie becoming more like his father, which makes Frasier a hypocrite. Not everyone enjoys the protagonist, written by Kelsey Grammer. He has a tendency to be arrogant, critical, and exaggerated. Because of the cast of individuals he was surrounded by, the first program succeeded in keeping him grounded. Despite a number of shortcomings, Frasier's positive traits, such as his sincere desire to assist others, which was evident during his time working as a radiotherapist at KACL, balanced things out. Even yet, one would think that he has grown more self-aware at this time. Although he's not. In the remake, Frasier is in his twilight years, which means that his visit to Boston will likely be his last. Nearly 20 years after moving to Chicago from Seattle, he has learned valuable lessons and gained fresh experiences that have led him to finally put his son Freddie first in life. This encourages him to relocate to Boston, even if he doesn't have the best reputation in the area. The reconnection between the father and son emphasizes their differences, a story device that was influenced by Frasier bond with Martin in the first season of the television show. But sometimes it also highlights how similar they can be. Frasier problem is exactly Freddie's romance problem on the ancient show after Eve's attempt to match them both up on a blind date goes awry in the 6th episode of the Frasier reboot. Blind date, Frasier and Freddie start to harbor feelings for the same lady. But first, the father and son reflect about their days at Mahoney's before that incident, which is evocative of early Frasier, occurs. It seems that there are other people with less busy love lives than Frasier. Eve claims that Freddie often talks himself out of going on dates, which forces Frasier to assess his son's problems. In the end, Frasier says Freddie suffers from a fear of emotional vulnerability. Even though he tries to console his son at the conclusion of the outing, Frasier could be correct in his assessment. Regardless of how accurate his diagnosis was, it's intriguing that he was unaware that he had the same problem as in the previous show. He meets up with William Tewksbury, his Harvard mentor, again in Frasier Season 8, Episode 9, Frasier Edge, and Tewksbury forces him to reconsider how he views himself and his relationships. William implied that Frasier avoided closeness out of a fear of it, which is precisely what he says Freddie is doing. Freddie cannot cite that because he was not present while this was occurring. Freddie takes a chance by following his father's hopeless romantic scheme. Since Freddie's arc has thus far mostly focused on his tense relationship with his father, the Frasier remake hasn't gone into great detail on his dating life. But he says that due to the nature of his job as a firefighter, he has a busy love life. It's unclear right now whether that's the case, but if Freddie keeps putting off dealing with emotional vulnerability, he might wind up falling in love the same way his father did. He lists some of Frasier's most well-known romantic missteps, such as his 2 divorces and his being left behind at the altar. In actuality, Frasier and Charlotte had a long-term connection, which adds to the tragedy of his destiny. They got involved, as the Frasier reboot pilot proved, but they broke up for unspecified reasons in the end. This demonstrates that Frasier is capable of being in a committed relationship, but until the upcoming season specifically discloses the reasons behind Charlotte's departure, one can only speculate. Although it's too soon to tell if Frasier still keeps people at a distance, Freddie ought to take a close look at him and learn from his predicament. Why Freddie is similar to Frasier when it comes to romance. Something unexpectedly similar about Frasier and Freddie is that they both struggle with the same love troubles. It's a fresh component that wasn't included in the first series, which makes it much more fascinating. This could have 2 different causes. First of all, his parents' divorce might have left him damaged. Even with their successful co-parenting, Frasier and Lilith's shattered family would have made life challenging. Second, he might be preparing Eve to be the next Daphne and Niles in the Frasier reboot. Their friendship began when one of their loved ones passed away. It's not hard to imagine, though, that it may go beyond simple friendship. For more, subscribe.